It is said that we all have a writer inside. Sometimes the writer gets a chance to come out, sometimes the writer doesn't. To write a book is a challenge, and there are very few who takes up this challenge and comes out triumphant. Hello, I am Partha, and I welcome you to another episode of Candid with Partha. Today, I have with me Mehnaz Farooque, who has just come out with her collection of poetry, Love, Death, and Poetry. Let's know more from her about the book, the challenges she faced, and the journey so far. Mehnaz, welcome to my show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. How are
So
you, Partha?
I'm fine. I'm fine. And so, how is the feeling of bringing out the book and holding it on your hand for the first time? How does it feel?
I mean, it's still surreal. It's been a few months that the book released, and to be honest, I still cannot believe that you know uh, all of these got published. The poetry are there out there for people to actually see it in the form of a book. I think it's still surreal. I cannot imagine, and yeah, I'm just numb towards most of the things.
Yeah, I can see the copy of the book just behind you. Just can you bring it forward and show it to our audience?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Love,
So
Death, and Poetry.
yes.
Uh,
Uh,
so yeah,
this is my book, and yeah, I'll keep it here
yeah, yeah,
just
sure.
in case. Yeah,
Uh, as I always say that to think to write something is very easy. We all get ideas all the time, but to take all the ideas together, then compile it in form of a book is a challenge. So, how challenging was your journey from thinking to compiling and to finally bring it out?
of course it is challenging, and as you know, I think you write yourself. We're all over the place, and organizing the thoughts and giving it a shape is the biggest challenge, I think. First of all, I never thought that I will come up with a poetry collection. I was working on my novel first as a prose. But then when the time came and when I thought of actually putting it out there, I thought, okay, the poems should get a first chance. And yeah, it was very challenging to convince people, to convince publishers. I had written to I have written mails to so many publishers, and of course, none of them replied. But yeah, I thankfully I came across an amazing person, a literary agent, Suhail, and he has his own foundation, the Club Book Bakers Club, who helped me get in touch with the publishers, and finally the process became a little bit bearable. Pathway for a new writer or a new poet to actually come up with something like that, and even the idea to present it as a book. But thankfully I met the right people at the right time, I think.
So, just tell me when, how was it when the publisher finally called you and said that okay, your book is done, it's been printed.
I still remember, but part of the entire thing was so lengthy. I think it took around 1.5 years to just get everything in place. So I would not say there was a definite moment, but of course, when my publisher Jay, and he had sent me, I think the first five published books just for me to see the look and feel of the book. I think that was the time when uh, I was working from home that day, and I just went down and collected the parcel and I opened the book. I think that was something, just to see my name on a book, on a nicely published book, was itself like a dream. And I think it's a dream for every writer. And no matter how much I have written online or how many articles have been published or featured online, just to see it in paperback itself is a very surreal feeling. And I still don't know how to comprehend or explain it to you, but yeah, it was out of the world.
So tell me something behind the idea of the name. I mean, this is one thing I always ask people that naming your book, naming your song, anything, naming your creation, it 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 is something that we give in a lot of thought. There is a lot of thought process behind it. So
Yeah.
love, death, and poetry. These are three different emotions, three different feelings. So what was the
Yeah.
idea behind naming the book this?
Thank you. That's a very beautiful question, actually. So love doesn't poetry. When I was writing the poems, I never thought that they are going to be a collection of poetry for a book. I was just writing them. I was writing them in my journal, or I was just posting them on my online page. I never thought that it's going to find a journey in itself, the poems. But when I actually, uh, created the entire collection, organized, and the first 50 poems that I'm supposed to put it out there for the publisher, I just thought, what are these? Like, what are these written about? Mostly it's written about love, death, because during the culmination of the book, or during the journey of love, death, and poetry, I had my father was diagnosed with cancer, and I had seen death so closely that it became a part of what I was writing during those times. So death was there, and poetry, because again, it's itself. I feel that because I'm a poet, I see everything in rhyming words and in poem form, in poetic form. So I think I just thought that, okay, this is a journey, and what better name to just to call it by the name itself. So if you look at inside the book, the collection of poems are also, there are love poems, there are poems about the imminence of death or death itself, and of course about poetry. So I thought that that is the right title for the book.
After writing and after publishing, one of the
Yeah,
biggest challenge for a new writer is to convince people that, come on, get hold of my book, do read it, and share a feedback.
yeah,
Maybe positive, maybe negative. That's their choice.
yeah.
Just tell me that you may from your friend circle of 100 friends or maybe 200 friends, how easy or how difficult it was to convince them to at least get hold of the copy and share their feedback.
First of all, I don't have 200 friends. I have like
That,
two, three friends
that just
who are
just
the only people.
that's just a
Yeah,
metaphor.
yeah, I know. It just uh, it was difficult, also difficult for me, because I'm not someone who is good at selling what I have to sell. For me, my publisher has been telling me that, Minaz, you have to do at least some kind of promotion so that the book is out there. Call it my introvertism, or just laziness, or just how I am. I didn't get a chance to actually go out there and network with people and to promote the book as such. However, word of mouth has been the only source of, publishing or promoting the book. Sorry, and I've done whatever I could on my personal social media profiles. My mom told her friends who got in touch with this, and then my school teachers. So somewhere we would just also people are very accepting in the circle itself. They wanted to know that what you have written, they have already seen some of my works before. So, and I was very clear that it is not going to cater to a wider audience, because poetry in itself is very niche, and I already know that not many people would actually pay and buy a poetry book unless it is from a from a poet who is very well known. So I had my expectations very curbed from the moment I was writing the book. I also knew that out of 100 people, maybe only two people are going to buy the book and read and like or dislike, whatever. But so I was clear in that. But majorly, I did it with my social media or word of mouth from my friends, from my family. I think that's how it worked. Yeah.
So far, how has been the response from those who have bought the book or who has read the book? How has been the response so far?
Frankly, I think they're biased because most of the people know me or have known me over the years. So I did not get anything that bone shivering that I was like, okay, I'm not going to write anything, or I don't make sense at all. So they have been kind towards me. The people who have read the book, or at least got a chance to read some of the poems, they've been very kind and motivating towards it. And yeah, so far it's been very warm feeling, and I think people understand the even the struggle, the basic struggle of actually putting a book out there. So I think they have been very respectful and very warm towards the journey itself, and of course the readers have been very kind. And considering it's a poetry book, the sales are like really slow. So I think the book is still figuring out. It still will take time to actually go out there.
Since you said that you were working on your novel, then the poetry thing came up to you, and you, I mean, writing a novel, a short story, a prose, it's much different than writing a poem. Do you need to balance your thoughts in a different way, or is the same thought process you put in to write the both?
Of course, poetry is like writing a song. It's about the flow, it's about everything. Whereas prose, you can just jot down some words, and then of course it has to make a bigger meaning. However, poetry is more about just the flow of it. So of course there is different kind of thinking, but recently I was struggling. So I also write prose or quotes on my page, online page, and I also post poetry there. So I was writing a paragraph about something, and then I just realized, oh no, I want to make it into a poetry. So I tried to make it in a poetry. So I think it depends on the writer how he or she wants to present it.
Mhm.
Both, uh, I would not say the thought process is different, but presenting is very different, of course. And so while presenting, like in a poem, just to make it more rhyming or make it have a flow, I have to rearrange the words or use a different kind of words. Whereas for a prose, for a paragraph, or a short story, I would not think that way.
Much.
So I think it's more organizing, or it's more a bit calculative. I know it sounds really offbeat considering poetry, but I think it's a bit more calculative when I'm writing a poem versus when I'm writing a prose piece.
There is a saying that writing poetry comes to a person when somebody is at the deepest most part of certain feelings, be it heartbroken, be somebody be the happiest person in the world, or any other feeling, but that person has to be at the deepest part of that ocean of feelings. Is it
Yeah.
true to you as well, or is it just a statement made by random person and then has got become a quote popular?
Oh, it's a beautiful question actually. It's a very thoughtful process. I think it's been set up many a times in many places in movies, and especially in Bollywood movies, in Tiazali movies, that the artist has to go through
A lot
a
of pain.
heartbreak to,
Yeah.
yeah, to come up with something, तुम्हारे आवाज में दर्द नहीं है types. It sounds cliche, but I think it is true. Not just sadness, like you said, deepest in any kind of emotion, frustration, happiness, or just sadness. I feel you have to be there. Like you have to be genuinely feeling that, and only then words come out of you. Otherwise, it becomes very a wannabe poem about things that we're just listening about. If you're not feeling it, if you're not going through it, I don't think so. We'll have the most genuine poetry out of that.
Right, right.
Especially, poems are something very close to the writer, the poet. Mainly because I think it's kind of he or she couldn't express it in any other way, so they wrote a poem about it. And if you read the melancholic poems, you would just see that the heartbreak or just the deepest emotions the writer must have gone through during that time,
Mhm.
and instead of doing anything else they chose to write a poem about it. That itself is sad and beautiful at the same time. But I
Mhm.
feel no, it's not cliched. It is actually true
Mhm.
that a person has to be in their deepest emotions to actually write about that emotion in form of poetry or a song or anything.
We have seen many novels, very many short stories being converted to movies, TV series, and all. There are very few poems that have been picked up into full-length movies. So,
Yeah.
do you think that writing a screenplay from a poem is difficult than writing a screenplay from a story, short story, or is it that poetry don't attract the filmmakers much to make a movie out of it?
Um, Amazing question. I've never thought about it, but now that you've put it inside my head, so I try to answer it. I think like when you have a short story, you already have an outline of a story, so it's easier to pitch or form a story out of already written story, a screenplay or a movie story, whatever. Poetry, however, is very concise. It's just about that momentary feeling that the poet must have felt. So I feel poetry can be used as a journey of a story, or someone can actually build up around it, but it will require a lot of build up.
Coming back to your book, we just talk something of here and there. Coming back to your book, how was the reaction of your family, especially your mother, when she got hold of the book?
Yeah, coming from an Indian middle class family and trying to be a writer was itself a very challenge. They'd be like, "What will you do? How will you pay your bills?" So the entire journey from that to actually holding a book, a physical book, was was very interesting to see. And I think my entire inspiration has for books or for writing has come from my parents. So my mom reads a lot. So she has always been a reader. So she was accepting the fact that okay, her daughter has written something which is physically available there. She can actually, you know, look at the pages, flip the pages, and read. So I
Mhm.
think she was very nervous. She was very happy, and she keeps telling me that she always wanted to write a book herself. And I think she will eventually write a book about her life, her journeys. But just uh, having her daughter written something as what do I say, as a poetry book, I think it was for her, it was also surreal. I could just see it in her eyes. But at the same time, it was also an extension of her dream itself, I think.
So we
It's
can,
like,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, just
oh, please
complete.
go ahead.
No, it's just like that. We generally say that the children are inspired by their parents to do something. So
Yeah.
in your case, it's the reverse order.
No, no, no. Nothing like that. But I think now she'll be like paying more attention to, okay, fine, I'll at least put the words and try to write it. But otherwise, I think somewhere I got it from her only that okay, I have to, because see, my entire, like my publisher also, we chatted, and he said that Mehnaz, you're never gonna make money out of your book, because until and unless you're a very popular writer, no one's gonna pick up your book from a bookstore and hype about it. However, for me it was very necessary to publish a collection of book, because somewhere in my mind I had that, until I actually put a book out there, I will not have a journey, I will not
Right.
have a beginning to my journey as a writer, no matter how much I have written online, no matter how much I've written in magazines. There has to be an epicenter of what I do, and that epicenter has to be a book. So somewhere it has been inspired from my mom wanting, her wanting to write her own book, and me trying to come up with a way to actually create a book. So I think the entire journey is very intertwined. She has inspired me mostly, but I hope she, invests more time and actually
Comes out.
figure out how.
Yep. We have spoken about your writing process, the thought process, the response that you have got, the inspiration you have drawn from. Now let's know more about the book, the kind of poems. So how have you arranged the poem? I mean, can you just tell us about the formatting of the book, the formatting of the poems, the arrangement of the poems? And one
Oh,
more thing,
so
I'll just put all the questions, the answer, then the stage is yours. And lastly, I'd like to read out your favorite from the book, or maybe whatever you want to just read out for readers. Yeah, stage is
sure.
yours.
Okay, I'm nervous now. Uh, so about arranging the poetry, I think in the last chat also I mentioned that because I'm someone who is very disorganized in my head about, because I'm writing about this also, I'm writing about that also. Somewhere I feel that I'm all over the place when it comes to writing. And poetry, you won't believe it, Partha. I have written it in board meetings also, and I've written in a pub also. I have written in a bus stop, everywhere. So for me, the entire thing is what I feel. Also, my poetry do not conforms to the proper structure or proper organization of how English poetry has been written. So because I feel that as writers we have the freedom, or we have the liberty to play around the number of sentences, to play around with the kind of poetry we're trying to put out there. So for me, that's why the indexing or the organization of the poetry throughout the book has been very random. Like, there would be a poem about heartbreak, and then there would be poem about feeling good. So I think it's about a reader will feel, oh, I'm just sad right now, and then he or she will just find it, okay, there is something about happiness as well. So
Mm-hmm.
there was no such hardcore organization or indexing in terms of the poetry, one after the other. I just kept it in a way. The oldest poem that I had written was at the first, and then there were some poetry that I had written in the middle. Then some poetry I actually organized it at a later part, and so we kept it that way. I think the entire idea of love, death, and poetry has been to be very free flowing, which also reflects throughout the book, I think. Okay, so there is this poem called "Not in Love with You." I'll just say a first few lines. I'm changing my playlist, deleting the phone records. I'm meeting new people. I don't want to be in the same old chaos. For I can't bear another December being in love with you. Yes, I'm drunk, stoned, bothered, impatient, perhaps even lost. I know I miss it all, but I'm still not in love with you. It's one of the longest poems that I had written here. It's a
Mm-hmm.
two-page poetry. And why I chose this? Because it again, when we were talking about be in deepest emotions about something to write about, I think this was one of the poems where I had written when I have started to move on from one of my relationships. And uh, and what I see is that we try to when we are moving on, we try to just separate ourselves from so many things to move on. And I just found that just deleting the pictures or deleting the numbers, or just deleting the entire conversations, these are so trivial, but at the same time everyone does it, and it's so common in general. So about the moving on stage, so I wrote it about the moving on stage. So I think it's very close to my heart, because it took a lot for me to actually not write about love and write that I'm not in love with you. So
Uh, Coming back to a book, the cover of the book it's completely plain. It's a white cover with just the title with it, and there's a, I think that's an fly. Don't
it's,
I'm very bad with identifying
it's
flowers.
crazy.
So just tell me something about the idea behind this simple yet very captivating design.
Yeah. First of all, when I was thinking about the book, I didn't want it to be something very colorful or vibrant, because somewhere the book also holds a lot of intense feelings. One of the intense feelings is death itself. So I wanted it to be very subtle. I wanted it to be very peaceful and calming to the eyes. And so the look and feel, I always knew that it's going to be very plain and simple. White, because I think it's a color of peace. It's very calming to eyes. That's why white. Daisy. It's a if you can see, it's a half
Yeah.
daisy on the half white, because it just shows that it's the nature of why I kept it half, is because I think it's every one of us is just not complete yet. We have a journey to complete. And the book itself, although it is a collection of poems, I feel it's a very continuous process to write. So for me, I wanted it to put it out there as something like half written, or half done, so that there is a continuation of it. If you might be asking, like, will there be another love, death, and poetry to
Part two.
part two? I don't know. I've never thought about it. But just I didn't want a full-fledged flower to be there, because I also feel that a lot of us try a little way too harder to become complete, complete their journeys, complete certain checklists. So for me, everything half cooked or half written has as I have a sense of belonging to that. So it has a deeper meaning. But otherwise, yeah, daisies are my favorite flowers. I got to choose that because I'm the writer. So yeah, that was that was
That's
it.
a very a lot of thought process behind the cover design and all. So Benas, thank you, thank you. It was really nice talking to you and nice to know about your book and the efforts that you have put in. So
Yeah.
that was Candid with Partha. Thank you for watching and thank you for supporting me as well. I was here talking to Mehnaz Farooque about her book, Love, Death and Poetry. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and keep reading.